number one, thanks for coming on. I'm glad we finally were able to connect in this way. I was reading through like what you've done, and we, we've been there's some similar gym rat. Uh, I spent my life. I think you were at 14. You kind of started picking up your first dumbbell. I was 16, and it freaking changed my life.
Oh,
Like,
it's such a, it's funny. I started working out, I think for a lot of the same reasons a lot of people do, is insecure about something about myself. And
yeah,
that's motivation for most people initially. But if you stick to it long enough, fitness and health is it's a very unassuming, but also at the same time simultaneously very powerful
mm,
vehicle for personal growth. A lot of lessons you learn through the process, right, through the journey, are great life lessons, aren't they? Like I think
yeah,
one of the first lessons I learned as a kid, because when I was 14, I was, this is the mid to early 90s, and I was a skinny kid and I really wanted to build muscle, and my dad had a weight set in the backyard and he wouldn't let me go near it until I turned 14. As soon as I turned 14, man, I was out there, and I wanted to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. That was the guy. I wanted to look like Arnold. And through the process of trying to look like Arnold, I start to realize that I'll never look like Arnold. Like no matter what I do, I'm not going to look like this guy. I don't have his genetics. I'm not going to, I'm not going to go to the lengths that he did, with the maybe anabolic steroids and all that stuff. And so the first big lesson was acceptance, right? It was accepting myself, my genetics, what can happen for me, I guess. But I kept going. Anyways. And so it was a really, really amazing kind of first lesson. Some of the other lessons were that you're going to suck at stuff when you first try it, and you get better as long as you stay tenacious and you keep practicing. And every new exercise I tried, I sucked at the first, 50 times. And I kept at it, right? I kept at it. And it's this incredible life lesson, because I think everything works like that in life. I don't know. I've never been great at anything I've tried the first time or the first 50 times, but it helped me kind of stay tenacious and consistent, and also realize the personal power I have in that, the empowerment, that I can keep doing that. And then I also learned a brand new relationship with pain, which is really interesting. It's funny, Darin, I saw this as a trainer. So I became a professional trainer, 18. As soon as I could be old enough to work in a gym as a trainer, that was it. I walked in, got hired, and I just fell in love with it. And I remember as an early trainer, I would get a new client who'd never worked out before. So like lifetime sedentary. And they would do an exercise, like a basic exercise, like a tricep press down or something. And people would let go of the rope, or they drop the dumbbells. And they'd be like, "What's the matter?" "Oh, it hurts. It hurts my arms." I said, "Oh, well, that's a normal feeling. It's what happens when you start exercising. It's not a bad thing." And of course, as they continue, they still feel the pain, but they change their relationship with it. It's not scary anymore. And this better than anybody. It still hurts, but it doesn't feel the same, or at least you don't perceive it to be negative, right? What a great lesson. What a great lesson to feel pain, but to have a different relationship with it. And I think that applies to so many things in life. And then, later when I started training, I trained people and they'd bring me their kids. My second favorite population to train were kids. My first favorite were the people in advanced age, like over 60, which is classified as advanced age. But the kids were my second. And one of my number one reasons for liking to train them so much was they would work out, and then we do another workout the week after. And I would always write down what they would do, because I would want to have evidence, so that when I showed them and I'd say, "Hey, you just did 10 push-ups." They're like, "Okay, that's cool." I'd say, "You did 8 last week." They'd say, "I did." And I'd say, "Yeah." I said, "Do you know what that means?" So, "Well, I'm stronger." I said, "Well, yeah, you're stronger, but you're not the same person you were a week ago. You're different. The person you are today did 10. The person you were last week could only do 8. And you'd see their eyes light up. And then their parents would come to me after a few months and say, "Hey, Timmy's grades are getting better. And, John he dropped some of his friends that were kind of a bad influence and now is making different. And I would hear this all the time. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. It's a really, really, and the reason why it's so unassuming, because nobody thinks that they're going to get life lessons out of it. Everybody's there to lose weight and get in shape and whatever. It's not like I'm approaching someone and saying, hey, you want to join my spiritual practice? People are like, oh, I don't want to do that. Or, but hey, you want to work out and get in shape? Yeah. Little they know, they're about to embark on, especially if they stick to it, right? They're about to embark on this incredible path of personal growth.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there's so much like what's going off in my head right now is a spontaneous recapitulation of what now 3-4 decades in gyms and kind of being that that iron being that ally, and something I think we should illuminate on, which you brought up, which is so powerful. I know I've learned it and continue to learn it. And that is that association with pain.
Yeah.
Right. And then once you become, as you know, there is a way, there's no getting out of pain. Look in any direction, walk in any direction, do anything in your life, you're going to get hit with it, one way or another. And if you start to understand the association and the actual allyship or whatever name that is, that you can actually use it. So in this instance, what's the easiest? When you invoke in pain, obviously without injuring yourself, you actually get that result, so that 8 becomes that 10. And so then you're like, oh shit, wait a minute. So if I actually move into this space and apply more of my action and I feel more of this pain, I actually then have a positive result, right? And then comes with it this pleomorphic effect, because we are everything and everything is us. And so you like this beautiful extension it naturally has in every part of our life. Because I, like you, dude, at 16, 5'9", 135 freaking pounds. Like when I picked up that dumbbell and had my dad was a professor, so he had all these dudes in college and they knew my dad, but then I was like, they became my mentors in the gym.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden you're learning from the boys, and then you're gaining this freaking confidence. And, it is such a powerful thing that, as you've been around this space for so long, that it is naturally this doorway into any, and talk to me about this too, because I believe it at my core. Like anyone, anywhere, at any time in their life can do resistance training.
Yeah, it's the most. First off, I got to comment. I love talking to you, Darin. I mean, when we had you on our podcast, I was like, I really like that guy. You really get it and you communicate it very well. So I appreciate that. Resistance training or strength training is extremely modifiable. In fact, it's the form of exercise that therapists use when rehabbing people from horrific accidents or terrible situations. It has to be applied appropriately. This is true for any form of exercise, right? It has to be appropriate, because you can overdo exercise. And there's this bell curve of, too little, you really get no adaptations. The right dose is somewhere here, and then too much, and your body is only concerned with recovery, which recovery and adaptation are two different things, by the way. Recovery is the healing process. Adaptation is the overcompensation of the body to prevent you from getting the same amount of stress with the same insult later on. So to use an analogy, it would be like me, if I took a piece of sandpaper and rubbed my hand raw, the first process would be healing. The skin would have to replace itself. But then what my body would do is it would make the skin a little thicker, or I'd develop a bit of a callus and my body's trying to protect itself from the same insult later on. That's the adaptation process. So the dose has to be appropriate. So I want to say that, but you could take somebody and strength training could be squatting 300 pounds, or it could be literally sitting down and standing up from a chair a couple times, or it could be just standing and balancing on your own and maintaining stability. That could be strength training for someone. I've worked with people like this before. And what happens is your body gets stronger and improves itself. It adapts, over time. So it's pretty incredible. And, listening to you talk about the guys mentoring you in the gym, it's funny. There's been a couple articles talking about how gyms are, maybe bad places or places of judgment, which I think is such a mischaracterization. Gyms are some of the most accepting places on earth. And I've told people this before, unless you've worked out in gyms before, you might not even believe me, but it's totally true. If you're a beginner and you walk into a gym and you don't know how to use a piece of equipment, or you're struggling, that big scary guy in the gym with his headphones on, if you tap on his shoulder and you say, hey, can you show me how to do this? They will take their headphones out. They'll come over and they'll be so happy to help you, probably because they've gone through that journey themselves. Like, everybody in there who's serious or dedicated is going through that process. And then let's talk about that for a second. We talked about the process and the result. You know what the next step of that is? The next step, or the evolution of that, is even better, because at first it's like, if I do this, I get a result. If I do this, I get a result. But at some point, you can't keep getting stronger. I mean, if that were the case, I could, by now I'd be able to squat 5,000 pounds or whatever, right? At some point, what ends up happening is the result is the side effect, and what you love is the journey. And the journey is where everything happens, right? So, this is a quote that I've said on other podcasts, and I love saying it. It's like, the man who loves walking will walk further than the man who loves the destination. If you enjoy the journey, you're going to do it for the sake of doing it, and you're going to enjoy doing it. At this point now, I'm 43 years old. I've been doing this for a long time. I mean, I like the results of what I do, but I enjoy the journey and the process even more. It's like, imagine if you just enjoyed eating healthy. Well, you would never have to worry about losing weight or changing your diet to improve your health, because you enjoy the process, right? You enjoy the journey. And people often are a bit confused over that, but I'll use another analogy. You could take a helicopter ride, and that helicopter could take you to the top of a tall mountain and drop you off, and the view will be gorgeous, but it means a fraction of what it would mean if you climb that mountain yourself. And my good friend Arthur Brooks, who I've had on the podcast a few times, he's a social scientist, very smart man over at Harvard, love him. And he studies happiness and what makes people happy. The struggle and challenge is actually an essential part of happiness. You have to feel challenged, otherwise there's no meaning behind what you did. A common question, we do episodes on our podcast where we answer listener questions, and a question that pops up here and there, especially more often recently because of the advancements in medicine, is, what do you think about exercise in a pill? Or what do you think will happen if we create a drug that you could take and then get all the benefits of exercise? And my answer is, you'll gain the least important benefits of exercise from that. You'll miss out on all the other stuff. Like, yeah, you might lose weight, you'll improve your health, get stronger. That's awesome for a lot of people. I'm sure they could save some people's lives. But all the other values and benefits that, if you ask anybody with any fitness wisdom is, not knowledge, but rather people who've been doing it for a long time. If you go up to someone, if I ask you, what are your favorite things about exercise? Like, why do you do it? I bet you at the top of it will be mental and spiritual well-being. Like, it makes me feel good. It's good for my mind. And then down the list somewhere is, I like to feel strong and mobile and stuff. And look good probably is even at the bottom of that list. And if you ask people with fitness wisdom, that's what they'll tell you. So it's that journey that's so important. And I like to communicate that to people, because the challenge with health and fitness, to put it plainly, the big thing on people's minds is obesity. I think that's the number one goal, right? It's the number one goal is to lose weight. And I understand that. That's the biggest issue we have when it comes to health. Obesity is this like umbrella term, and underneath it, or all these health effects, negative health effects associated with obesity. If you really look at the statistics, millions and millions and millions of Americans lose weight every single year. I mean, people successfully lose weight all the time, but they all gain it back. They all gain it back. I think the last statistic I saw was over 80% gain it back within the first few years. I bet you if we took that out another few years, it would probably be north of 90%. So we got to stop tackling the problem by focusing on how can we get people to lose weight. We got to instead look at the real issue, which is why is this not working for people long term? Why are people not developing a relationship with exercise and nutrition that is sustainable? Like, what is going on? Is it lack of motivation? Is it people are lazy? Is it that it's too hard? No, it's none of those things. It's actually none of those things. Some of my most disciplined clients, and I don't mean in fitness, I mean in life, executives, successful, great families, found initially when they would hire me would struggle with the discipline of exercise. I always thought that was so weird. Like, you've created, multi-million-dollar companies. You've got a PhD. You've obviously got discipline. Like, what's going on here? Why is this a problem? I remember when the answer came to me. I was at a dinner for a big tech company. My ex-wife used to work for this large tech company, and it was a Christmas dinner. I think it was Christmas dinner. We're sitting at this big table, and we're going around the table talking about what we do for a living because everybody's spouses were there, right? And I'm, at the time I was a trainer. By the way, if you ever say you're a trainer or anything to have to do with fitness at a function where people are eating, immediately people get very self-conscious, right? The comments start already. Oh, don't pay attention. I don't normally eat this much bread, or
Exactly.
oh, I already had 2 glasses of wine, or they start watching what you do, like, oh,
I don't normally eat this.
Yes, right. So that all started happening, but people loosened up once they saw that I wasn't, a fanatic in that sense. And we're hanging out and talking, and people are loosening up. We're having some wine, and this lady sitting across from me, she goes, just out of the blue, she goes, I had a friend who worked out all the time. She ate right, took supplements, and then in her early 50s, she got cancer and she died. And so when that happened, I said to myself, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy life, and I'm not going to do any of that stuff. And so I paused. And the reason why I paused, I've heard similar statements before, right? I've heard people say, why'd you stop exercising? Oh, I just want to enjoy life. And it was always weird to me because there's almost nothing. This is statistically true now. This isn't just my opinion. This is like data driven, 100% true. There's almost nothing that can improve the quality of your life overall. I mean, I'm talking across the board: earning potential, how you are as a parent, anxiety, mental illness, like physical health, everything. There's almost nothing that can improve the quality of your life, like eating right and being active. And yet here we have people saying, I just want to enjoy my life, so I stopped. And I'm thinking, how is this? This is so illogical. This doesn't make any sense. But then it dawned on me. People view exercise as a punishment, and they view eating right as restriction, right? It's as if we create 2 selves when we decide to start working out. And it usually starts like this. I look in the mirror, or I see a picture of myself on social media, and I go, oh my gosh, my belly is sticking out right there. Oh, I don't look good. Or maybe even worse, I'm not worthy of attraction, or I'm not good enough, or I'm ugly, or I'm fat, or fill in the blanks. A lot of self-hate talk, right? So then from there, they create the dual self. You know what? You're going to go to the gym and you're going to sweat it off, and you're going to beat yourself up. And you know what? Next time somebody offers you a cookie or a slice of pizza, you can't have it. And this becomes the driving force. This becomes the underlying force behind the workout regime, their programming, their diet. And so they're literally oppressing themselves. Now, it's a very powerful short-term motivator. Self-hate is very powerful in the short term. Like, you hate yourself, you can get yourself to do something for 3 months, 6 months, maybe a year or 2 if you really, really hate yourself hard enough. But at some point, here's what happens. At some point, you can't hate yourself anymore. So what do? like a teenager, you rebel. And so you don't just slow down, you go in the opposite direction. You don't just eat one cookie, you eat the whole box of cookies. It's a rebellion against yourself. You know, the difference between that and the right way of doing this, or should I say the effective, sustainable way, would be this. I look in the mirror or I see a picture of myself. We'll start the story over, right? And I say, man, I haven't been taking care of myself very well. And you know what? I deserve to be taken care of. I deserve to be healthy. I haven't been very good to myself. I think it's time to care for me. So then when I go to the gym, it's self-care. I'm going to go do this exercise because I deserve to feel good. And then when it comes to eating, it's like this. Yeah, I appreciate you offering me that cookie, but I don't want it. Not that I can't have it. I don't want it. But it also naturally creates balance, doesn't it? If I'm tired because I had a stressful day at work, the self-hate model would say, who cares? Go beat yourself up in the gym. You would train inappropriately. Look, as a coach and as a fitness expert, I know it's not a good idea when you're feeling stressed or tired to go beat yourself up. Okay. You actually can set yourself back that way. Instead, if it was from self-care and self-love, I'd say, man, I'm really tired. You know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to go do yoga. Or I think I'm going to go do a walk instead of that hard workout, right? When it comes to food, it looks like this. Most of the times I'm going to say, I don't want that cookie. Sometimes I may be hanging out with my friends. We're connecting over a glass of wine. Somebody made cookies and I'll say, you know what, right now, you know what's good for my health? Connecting with my friends and enjoying this moment. So I think I will have that cookie. And you develop that natural balance, right? So I think that the root cause of the reason why people gain the weight back, and the root cause is that. And you know, the fitness industry doesn't help, because the fitness industry is like any industry. They will do what's effective at making money. And it's very effective to capture people in that state of self-hate motivation by saying, lose 30 pounds in 30 days, or the hardest workout you'll ever do, or we'll beat you up. And they're like, yes, I want to do that. And it's challenging to counter that. I'll be honest with you, Darin. When we started our podcast, remember, Mind Pump was founded by 4 people. 3 of us were trainers who had been training people for over 2 decades. And when you train people that long, if you really care about people, like really care about people, you figure this stuff out. I mean, none of us worked together, but we all came to the same conclusion. All different backgrounds, by the way, but all came to the same conclusion. And we started the show and we said, okay, we got to sell the right message better than they sell the wrong message. And that's hard. Like, you know, the guy over there is saying you're going to lose 30 pounds in 30 days by taking his diet pills and beating yourself up. And I'm going to say it's going to take you about a year. We're going to have to change your relationship to exercise and diet. It's a long process. It's going to be a challenging one. Like, I got to sell this. How am I going to do this? It's very, very challenging, but the goal is to do that. The goal is to really communicate this in ways that we found to be effective for our clients long-term. And the root of that is you're taking care of yourself. And to take it a step further, for somebody who has a tough time understanding that, treat yourself like somebody that you care about. So if you have kids, your kids could be a good example. What would I tell my kids to do right now? Or what would I tell my friend to do? How would I care for this? If I were someone I cared about, how would I tell this person to exercise today? And how would I be when it comes to their nutrition? That will guide you in the right direction. And there's much more to this, right? There's the skill of discipline, which you can develop over time, which is a bit of a process, but you got to start with those roots. If you start with self-hate, it's going to be really, really hard to maintain it. And in fact, I'll even take it a step further. If you are one of those fanatics that can maintain self-hate for life, that is unhealthy and dysfunctional. And I see a lot of that in my space, in the fitness space. I see a lot of dysfunctional eating and people who don't want to go out with friends, and they got, you know, they missed their kid's baseball game because they got to have their workout. And it's not healthy. I mean, there was a study, I believe out of Harvard, that actually showed that having poor relationships with people was as bad for your health as I think it was smoking. It was like smoking 12 cigarettes a day or something like that. So that's the key right there. Start right there. And there's more to it along, you know, the process. But if you start there, your odds of long-term forever success, because that's all I'm interested in, is forever success, are much higher.
Yeah, man. Well, there's so much wisdom in that, and I would venture to say that I came to very similar, if not the same, conclusions as you guys, because obviously we're as you're speaking, I'm just like inside outside, I'm just nodding the
Yeah.
entire way, and it became, way back when I met like Bill Phillips and I was living in Colorado and all of that, and then they made that transition into kind of this almost this, for lack of a better word, you can't really distinguish the lexicon of language without saying it, but there is the spiritual side to this
Totally.
whole thing, a consciousness. I mean, how many times did you see someone in the gym, ego filled, putting on way too much weight? Next thing you know, they tear a pec, they rip their tricep off their bone, they pop their Achilles. You know, how many times I saw a kid mohawk himself from going way too heavy on the bench, not being aware, not having a spot. So it's like it's filled full of that stuff. And what I love about what you and all of the guys at Mind Pump, by the way, I just absolutely enjoyed the conversation, because I think, you and I and your guys, it's like I did feel weird because I was always approaching, of course, I came from my own wanting to look good and
Sure.
strong and all of that stuff. But I had never, after really that for the last 30 years, I've always approached it as this kind of honoring of the body and this approach. And we need to change that. But you're also correct in the sense of the motivation of seeing yourself in a mirror is revealing not an opportunity of judgment of negativity, but judgment of lack of integration, of self-care,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, think about, I mean, I think people get confused in media, especially media will confuse, body acceptance. They
Yes.
confuse that with, for lack of a better term, lying. So what I mean by that is,
Right.
and here's what I mean by that. Okay. You can, love is honest. Love is honest. So you can say to yourself, I haven't been taking care of myself. Okay. That's okay. That's love. That's what real love. If you've ever dealt with a family or friend who's addicted to drugs, love is not ignoring it and enabling them. Right? Love is care, empathy, and honesty. So you can say, man, you can say, I am worthy of love. Okay. I'm not, by the way, here's one of the challenges with obesity. And this is, I think, why the body acceptance movement went in the wrong direction, or at least gets, the media pushes it in the wrong way, is because obesity is a very visible, it's a very visible sign of a challenge. You could be a functioning alcoholic and, someone watch you walk down the street and they can't tell. You could have a gambling addiction. You could be a crappy friend, a shitty dad, and people can't see it, right? If you're 100 pounds overweight, it does invite judgment from a lot of other people because they see your dysfunction. I do want to be very clear. All of us have challenges. All of us have challenges. Okay. All of us do. And we're all deserving of dignity, respect, and care. All of us. And the first person that should do that for us is ourselves. You cannot escape yourself. Like, what's that quote? Everywhere you look, there I am, right? Or everywhere I look, there I am.
Wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's what real love is, and what real care is. It's being honest. It's saying, I haven't been taking care of myself and I deserve it. And also having empathy. It's not easy. This is not easy. Look, food alone, there's two sides of this. There's the one side that ignores the potential negatives of having a dysfunctional relationship with food. Now, food is by far, in Western societies, wealthy Western societies, the most abused drug that there is. There is nothing that is more abused than food. And it's easy to see. It kills more people than any drug. You can combine all the drug overdoses and stuff, and it won't even touch what dysfunctional relationship to food does. So it's an abused substance. And so there's people that tend to ignore that. And then there's the other side that oversimplifies food and says food is fuel, proteins, fats, carbohydrates, and calories. No, food is so much to people. We celebrate with food. There are different types of foods depending on where you go. There's cultures around food. Like my family, I'm a first generation American. My family's, both my parents were poor Sicilians. So Italian food is there's a whole bunch of culture around Italian food. And many people in America enjoy the culture of Italian food. There's foods you eat at birthday parties. There's different foods you eat at, when you go to the movies, you have popcorn, right? We almost never eat because we're hungry. I'll tell you something right now. The average American has never really felt hungry. It's a fact. Hunger kicks in about 48, 72 hours, maybe longer without food. What we all feel is cravings, which is totally different. Cravings and hunger are two different things completely. Where do cravings come from? Emotions, happy, sad, anxious, bored, depression. So food becomes a way to distract ourselves. Food becomes a way to feel better temporarily. Well, I'm sad. Let me eat this tasty food. And in the moment, I'm going to feel a little bit better, right? Or I'm bored. I don't like to be bored by myself with my thoughts. Let me eat some food. So that's mine. That's what I tend to do. So food is very complex, and we got to understand it and treat it that way. And also understand this: humans are emotional behavior based creatures. We tend to justify with logic, but many of our decisions are not logical on the surface. Obviously, look around. They're emotional and behavior based. So this is where you have to come from and understand when you start to work on this. Okay. So I'll take a step back for a second. You mentioned when you start this journey, and you, for lack of a better term, you said spiritual, right? Here's why that's so true. And again, Darin, I didn't know you before we interviewed you, but you have this lifelong relationship with fitness. And it's funny how our journeys all took us to the same conclusions. And what does that tell you? There's truth. There's truth there. I don't know how you started. I don't know what you did necessarily based off of our first meeting, but you're nodding with me because we both kind of seek the same thing, and you end up finding the same answers because there's some objective truth there. Well, why did you use the word spirituality, and why did I agree with it, or spiritual? Because health is a sphere that encompasses a lot. Now there's the obvious physical, right? Fitness, mobility, strength, stamina, body fat percentage, hormones, brain health, bone health. Everybody knows that, right? But there's also mental health, spiritual health. There's the health of my relationships with the people around me. There's the health that I have with how I am with my ego or my insecurities, right? So if you start on the journey of health, and maybe you start from, I want to get bigger biceps, or I want to look good in the bikini, or, I want to lose some weight or whatever. If you stay on that journey long enough, you end up moving up the ladder and start to realize a lot of different things. For me, it was, I want to build muscle and get bigger. And then it was, I got to eat more calories to do that. And then it was, there's proteins, fats, and carbohydrates in food. So let me focus on that. And then it was, like food can affect my health and wellness in many other different ways. It can be inflammatory. It can cause gut issues. It can do all this stuff. Let me look at that. And then it was, I think I got to focus on my sleep too. I didn't realize it was so important to get better sleep. And then it was, water. There's a lot of stuff behind water. I got to, kind of pay attention to that as well. And then it was, man, maybe I need to start meditating or praying. Like spiritual health is really important. By the way, this is all backed up by data. So the science people on here, I'm not speaking esoterically solely. I mean, this is all backed 100% by data. And then it was relationship health and the health of my relationship with my wife and my kids. And so it is all of that. But, if you're just getting started and this is overwhelming and you hear me talking right now, like, oh my gosh, this is all, I just want to lose 15 pounds. Start with self-care. That'll guide you. And then the next step is this. This is all takeaway stuff. Okay. Here's the next step. The next step is to consider your state of mind. If you're in a motivated state of mind, then put yourself in a non-motivated state of mind when you ask yourself this following question, because motivation doesn't last forever. If you ask somebody in a motivated state of mind to tell you, give you goals, how much money do you think you'll make in a year, or how many hours you think you can work, or how much you want to work out, you're going to get a wildly different answer than when they're not motivated. And a lot of us make this mistake. We're motivated. I'm working out 5 days a week from zero. It's not going to work. So take yourself out of that and ask yourself the following question. What is one step I can take that is challenging? Because it has to have meaning. If it's not challenging, then it doesn't mean anything to you. You're not going to take it. It's not going to mean anything. So what is one step that's challenging yet realistic forever? You have to use the time frame of forever, not 30 days, 60 days, until I get married, until I go to Vegas. It's got to be forever. What is challenging yet I'm pretty sure I can maintain forever? Start there. And there's no wrong answers. There's no wrong answers. I've had people start with 10 minutes of walking a week. I've had people with diet start with drinking an extra glass of water a day. Like, there is no wrong answer. So start there. Whatever that is, do that. And then do that until you feel like asking yourself that question again. And it'll happen. It might take you a month, it might take you longer than that, but it'll happen. And then you'll say, what's the next step I can take that is challenging yet realistic forever? Now, here's what happens with this. Each step tends to get bigger, and you tend to get more brave, and you tend to get more confident. And it's a snowball effect, and things really start to take off. Trust this process. It will work for you. It will work for you. Now, I don't know what the end result looks like. I can, based off of my experience, the average non-fitness fanatic person, because I remember learning this as a trainer, not everybody's a fitness fanatic. I remember having to swallow that pill. Like, oh, what do you mean you don't want to work out every day? So not everybody's a fitness fanatic. So, but here's what it generally looks like for most people who use fitness and nutrition as a way to improve their quality of life. Okay. Who find that value. About 2 or 3 days a week of structured exercise tends to be where they stick. And the nutrition tends to look balanced, but healthy. Definitely much healthier than where they started. Most people don't get too crazy into the weeds with diet, although some people do. But most people, 2-3 days a week of structured exercise with increased activity on the other days, just because you feel better, with a dramatic gradual improvement in nutrition that feels, here's the important part, not stressful. It's not a stressful process. When you eat, like, I know that you eat healthy and you don't stress about it. I'm pretty sure you don't count your calories and your macros. I'm sure you're not on your app going, oh, I don't know if I could fit this in. Like, you eat and you enjoy it. And I'm sure you enjoy the occasional, I don't know, unhealthy food. I mean, it's a non-stressful way of living, but it's a sustainable, lifelong, incredible approach. And it pays you back dividends in so many different ways. But the key is to understand, and that's how you build the skill of discipline with this, by the way. But the key is to know that the first step there is no wrong step. There is no wrong answer.
Yeah, I love that. And again, it's kind of counterculture to this idea of, 10-minute abs and you'll have a washboard and all of this stuff that you and I have seen iterations of for forever. And they still, if you look at, muscle mags, even now, it's still the same shit.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that, all of that, regardless of where people is that in fact snowball effect, right? And the confidence, the 1 + 1 actually equals more like 10, 20, that kind of thing. And the confidence we need to create in society right now as an individual, it really is so vital, right? And the building up of that accomplishment. And we go back to that pill idea of like, maybe we can just take something. There's no freaking way I would ever consider any of it, because like you, I'm to the other side, whereas I still grab that dumbbell with the same kind of eagerness, because even though the pain is still the pain, but it's the result of the effect that not only while I'm doing it, like I was just having this moment, I got all my like a dream of mine is having all my stuff, squat racks,
Oh,
dumbbells,
great.
everything outside,
Oh,
right?
I love that.
Right. So everything's outside and I'm walking around, I'm breathing, I'm looking at the mountains in between sets. And just that going, shit, this is tough. I could blow off this extra thing and blah, blah, blah. But again, it's that relationship that we have. That's that, a lot of these people, and I've met many friends of mine who've never had this relationship of pain of any kind in the physical body. Right.
No,
And
we need it. We, depending on your beliefs, evolved or were created to experience challenge and pain and struggle. It's funny. A few years ago, so a good friend of ours, Joe DeCina, he's a founder of Spartan Race. Okay.
yeah.
And we went, years ago, we had him on the podcast. He invited us over there to watch one of these races. And we were there, and I'm like blown away by the people who are doing this. They're all like desk jockeys. And I mean, there's definitely the hardcore athletes, right? The competitors, but then everybody else is like, oh, I'm an engineer at this company. I do tech and I do this and I sit at a desk all day long. And we were interviewing, I'm like, what made you do this? Like, I needed to feel this. Society, and we've done a great job. I'm going to pat, humanity on its back for a second. We did a great job eliminating the dangers of nature. We don't die from things being too hot or too cold quite often. It's pretty rare. We don't starve. We never starve. Way more people die of too much food than they do of not enough food. We've solved a lot of these immediate, scary issues. But then what we're starting to realize and figure out is that we need to have some element of that to feel alive and to make life feel meaningful. Here's your clearest example: sports. Let's look at sports for a second. The vast majority of people that play sports don't play it for money, don't play it for fame, don't play it even for a trophy. The most people right now playing competitive anything, I don't care what it is, right? Any sport, and you think it's from a purely cognitive, logical, state of like, who cares how many points you make with this weird, arbitrary rules of whatever? Why do you do this? It feels good. If we need to have that, right? That's why people do it. Well, geez, if you follow the current model of life, which is get up, take a shower, grab something to eat in the car, drive to work, sit down at a desk, look at the computer all day long, go on social media. By the way, social media gives you the same dopamine that you would get from meeting people in real life, but you don't get any of the other good stuff. You don't get the serotonin. You don't get the oxytocin. You just get the dopamine, right? So it's very drug-like and very empty, right? But that's how people communicate with each other now. Then you're done with work, you get in your car, you drive home, you sit on your couch, eat a little dinner, watch some Netflix, your air-conditioned house or whatever, go to bed. And then we're like, what is going on? Like, I don't feel good. I mean, anxiety, depression, they're all-time highs. We've solved so many of these crazy problems, yet they're all-time highs. And there's lots of reasons behind this, but part of it is we are living, we've solved issues, but in the meantime, we've taken out some very important, crucial things that make us feel alive and feel good. And that's the journey part that I was talking about earlier. And, exercise is part, it's personal growth. Look, you don't have to even think about it as personal growth. You're just trying to get better at something. Well, follow that and watch what happens. You talked about 1 + 1 = 10. I tell you what, and this is part of the problem. We want everything right now, right? I want to get that goal, the result right now. We had Mark Manson on the show. By the way, this is a very well documented psychological phenomenon. Okay, he experienced. His goal for most of his life was to have a best-selling book. Like, that was such a strong goal of his. And then he accomplished it. He wrote the book. What was the book that he wrote? Something about not giving a F or something like that. It's like a Stoic based book. It'll come to me. Best-selling book. The subtle art of not giving an F, right? Best-selling book, great book. I don't know if you've read it. Really, really good book. And he got the bestseller. And then he was depressed afterwards because he did it. And then what? Now what? Athletes go through this. They'll train for the Olympics, their butts off, they'll accomplish the gold medal. And then what? You see people who retire who go through this. They work, they retire. And in fact, Arthur Brooks, who I mentioned earlier, was on our show. He wrote a book called Strength to Strength. He talks about this phenomenon where after retirement, you see this fork where some people become happier and some people become far less happy. And the difference is the people that become happier, they go from working and earning and innovating to teaching or to volunteering. The people that are unhappy, they lose that meaning, and then there's nothing afterwards. Right. So again, it's about that journey. Now, I could definitely go into what's the most effective ways to exercise and what's going to give you the most bang for your buck. And if you only have this much time to spend in the gym, and I can definitely go through that if you want, Darin. But the key is a lot of what we're talking about right now. And it's important that people go into this journey that way. And yes, it is a slower process than the promised 30 days to, you're the best body of your life lies that you'll see in the commercials and stuff. But I tell you what, you take two parallel lines and you move 1 degree, follow that for a mile, see how far apart they are.
And you get to keep it, right?
It's forever.
You don't throw it away because you haven't integrated yourself. You haven't fully got to the deeper aspects and the reasons why. And that's why I just want to say, number one, people need to check out your book, The Resistance Training Revolution. So I just want to make sure we'll put that all in the show notes.
Thank you.
Because there's so much wisdom in here. And then coming with that wisdom, you can get into the efficiencies of training, which I love to unpack and get into. But the thing that I wanted to illuminate again is, and this is also a question to you as a colleague in this space, and that is, I always say, listen, for me, when I'm talking to people who also want to lose the weight and also want to feel better, I say, okay, well, that's great. Like, we talked a little bit about that. That's your initial motivation to be here, to that part of you that's looking in the mirror and go, fuck, that's 30 pounds that I just like, I don't feel good in my body. I'm not strong. I know that I have this weight to lose. And that's fine. And that gets you. But also now, is it worth it? It's kind of a redundant question, but is it worth it at that point to also extricate the idea that when I have that, because following someone like you and being mentored by someone like you will get it. You will lose that weight. That will happen. So then that exercise of almost going in and saying, listen, I am there. In my mind, I'm there. I've lost the weight now. And it speaks to your retirement thing that you just brought up. Now, who am I? What am I? What am I doing now? Right. So it starts to crack into that deeper reason of like, you're going to get there. So now what's that why beyond that point? And then what's that next one? And that next one. And now you start to align that truth of who you are that extends beyond just the physical, but yet the physical is great.
Yeah.
The physical is necessary. The physical is part of it, because like if we had another 2 hours, I'd love to pick your brain on, little tweaks to make and make my workout a little efficient. Yeah, that's fun. It's part of it. Right. And what's unique to me and unique, all of those things. But what are your thoughts on that in terms of the getting after, because it's very much part of that visual side of things, the power of imagery, the power of the mind in conjunction with moving us from A to B.
Yeah. So there's two approaches to it. One is far more effective than the other. One is I have goals and I keep hitting those goals and I keep creating new goals. The other one is I love the process, and then the goals become a side effect. Okay. So I'll tell you how I learned this personally. And I do want to say this, any who's a coach or trainer who's watching this is a very true statement. We're always much better trainers and coaches to our clients than we are to ourselves. So I had to learn this the hard way for me. Okay. Years ago in my early 30s. So I'd already been doing this for a long time, and I was already doing a pretty damn good job with my clients. But for myself, I still wasn't stuck in that kind of meathead trainer mentality where I just overtrained and I viewed food as just this is just how I get ripped and this is how I build muscle type of deal. Well, I had a health scare. I developed some what I thought at the time were autoimmune gut issues, really bad. I mean, I lost probably 13 to 15 pounds because I just, no matter what I ate, it seemed, my gut was just reacting. I mean, I got tested for Crohn's and it was negative, and I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. And for somebody who had built this armor of muscle and physique, like, this was a very terrifying thing, right? It's like disappearing right around, like my whole body, my image, who I am, who I thought I was, is being taken away from me. What do I do now? By the way, a lot of people experience this through age. You have to learn this as they age, right? That's why aging could be an incredible teacher, or it could be your enemy if you don't allow it to. So I couldn't figure this out. And at the time I had a wellness studio, and I'll give myself a little credit. I at least had the understanding that I knew what I knew, but there was other aspects of wellness that I didn't know very well. So in my wellness studio, I had body work specialist, I had an acupuncturist, I had a gut specialist, I had somebody who did hormone testing, and it was all a physical therapist, right? It was a really great environment. And I did my thing and I respected what they did, and we traded clients and we worked with people together. It was a beautiful thing. But for me, again, I was not a great coach for me because, again, rules don't apply to me because I'm the meathead, right? Well, here I am, can't figure out what the hell's going on. I'm losing weight, losing strength. I feel terrible. So I sat down with a few of my practitioners, and I said, and one was a bodywork specialist who was also very good with meditation, those types of practices. And then the other one was a gut health specialist who also did hormone testing. And I sat down and I said, I give up. None of my knowledge is helping, and I am feeling terrible, and I'm done. I'll do whatever you guys tell me. And they said, okay, we've been waiting for you to say that. So what I did mentally, because I had to do this mentally, is I had to stop looking at or caring about the weight that was on the bar. I had to stop looking in the mirror. I had to literally not pay attention to myself in the mirror, because I knew if I did, it would take me off whatever they told me to do. And all I did was, as I said, I'll follow what you tell me, and I just want to be healthy. I just want to be healthy. I don't even care anymore. It doesn't matter anymore to me, all those other things, because without my health, like, there's nothing that matters here. And so I did. I followed what they told me. And I mean, to make a long story short, I did gut testing, and I found I had food intolerances, and I totally changed my training. I was overtraining, and I started meditating and sleeping and better and all that stuff. And there's more to it, but I did this whole thing, and it took me about a year. Well, anyway, about a year into it, my health is so much better. I feel so much better. Pretty much solved this gut issue that I had. And I was at a pool party with some of my staff, and we're hanging out, having a good time. And I went to the bathroom, and in their bathroom, there were like a few mirrors in there. So you could see a reflection of yourself. And for a split second, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, where you see yourself, but don't quite recognize yourself because it's from an angle that you don't normally see. So for a split second, I was objective, which is a very hard thing to do. It's very hard to be objective about your own self. There's this huge subjective aspect. So I saw this like side angle, objective, split second view of myself. And I went, oh, wait a minute. And then I looked in the mirror, allowed myself to really look at myself for the first time in a year, really. And I said, I was blown away. I look better than I've ever looked before. What in the heck is going on? It was paradigm shattering. I came out of the bathroom and I said, hey, come here because those two people that helped me were there. And I said, chasing aesthetics for so long gave me some aesthetics, but eventually my health suffered. And then my aesthetics were gone. Without health, your aesthetics they follow. For the last year, I've been chasing health, not caring about aesthetics. And the side effect of that is that my aesthetics are better than they've ever been. So this is mind blowing to me. So the successful path with this is to do the things that create the side effect of the look that you want. It's not to chase the look. You chase the look long enough and you end up in some pretty scary situations. This is where you start to harm your body with things that aren't so healthy. You overtrain, over diet. Eventually age gets us all. You're not going to, no matter what, as you age, you got to face that. Like, what are you going to do now? People can do some pretty harmful things to themselves. So it's really about chasing the health. And then, I mean, and think of it this way. If you were to close your eyes and imagine yourself in excellent health, and I don't mean just physical, like mental, spiritual, physical, all of it, like all really good health, healthy relationships, right? You got a job that you really find a lot of meaning in, like all that stuff. What does the physical representation of that look like? Probably the body that you've always wanted, right? It's probably the body that you've dreamed of. So do the things that lead to the side effect, and then learn to love those things, because you'll never stop. You'll never see, I'm never going to stop exercising. And it really doesn't matter how strong I am or how mobile I am or all that stuff, because I love the process. I like doing it. So it's just something I'm going to do. It's just no matter what. And the side effect that is probably going to be, I'll have a great deal of physical health as a result, or at least a lot more than if I didn't.
Yeah. Well, dude, there's so much beauty and wisdom in all of that. And then the journey, I totally can relate on the having a goal and going and thinking that that's the direction. And then life, again, the beautiful hand of life will present like the opportunity, and you know, we know that there's no other person closer to us, to nature and ourselves than us. And so if we are willing to listen and follow that, and you finally did, and the beautiful thing is you get everything as a result of that. And I just want to just stamp that home for everyone listening here. What you're saying in relation to food, exercise, weight, goals, all resides in the holism of all of this stuff. And I love that. And if everyone, because I kind of, without my eyes closed, went there. As soon as you started saying, that was a little bit of a guided meditation that everyone could relate to. So just for a second, visualize yourself with health from a holism perspective. With what Sal is saying, health of a strong, vibrant, beaming body, spiritually sound, mentally acute and sharp and wisdom infused. And what is your life like? And this beautiful, you know, chemical suit that we get to play with, because is this us? Let's just go straight to that. Of course it isn't.
No.
It is a part, right?
It can't be. It's you know, it's the person watching it all, right? It's the observer. A great spiritual teacher, Eckhart Tolle, you know, A New Earth. It was a very transformative book for me. But it's very true. You're the observer inside this whole thing. You're watching the whole thing. And, you know, like I said, you know, time teaches us these lessons one way or another at some point. And if we're all blessed enough to grow into old age, I mean, I want to learn these lessons before I have to be forced to learn some of these lessons. Now I do want to leave people with just a few pragmatic steps, only because I want people to be able to, I'm sure some people are listening, it's resonating, and they're like, okay, what do I do now? And then they're going to go online, and I'm going to tell you something right now. And again, this is one of the strong motivations behind my podcast that we started 7 years ago, is that the fitness industry, 95% of the information you're going to get out there is going to be bad. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's going to be terrible. It's going to make your health worse. It's not going to help you in any real way. Maybe in a temporary way, but like I said, that temporary doesn't count. It's got to be forever. Otherwise it doesn't count. So I don't want people to do that. So I'm gonna leave them with a little bit of just some pragmatic steps. Okay. The health and fitness space has presented weight loss from a very basic understanding. And from there, they've made some terrible recommendations. So I'll start with this. There is a law of thermodynamics. It's a law of physics. So what I'm about to say is true, although it's more complex than what I'm about to say. So I also want to say that. However, what I'm about to say is a true fact. If you want to lose weight, you have to take in less calories than you burn, or you have to burn more calories than you take in. So that has to happen. Very simple, though. There's way more complexity that goes into that. Okay. But that formula has to happen for your body, because energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So in other words, my body's not going to derive energy from itself if it's got plenty of energy coming in. So weight loss doesn't happen unless that happens. And again, it's more complex than that, but let's start there. Okay, understanding that, the recommendation from an exercise perspective has always been this. If calories burned need to be more than calories consumed, well, let's just look at exercise and value and list them by value. And the top value is calories burned. That's the number one value of exercise then. How many calories you burn, right? Wrong. The least valuable component of exercise is your calories burned. Now, it's a component and there's some value to it, but it's actually the least important. It's the least impactful component of exercise. What's the top? How does this form of exercise get my body to adapt? And then what does that mean? What does that adaptation mean? So we need to understand that. Whatever I'm doing, the whole reason why exercise gets my body more fit, more stamina, more strength, more mobility, is because my body is improving itself to be able to deal with the stress of said exercise. And to illustrate this further, our bodies evolved being very calorie efficient. Your body does not want to adapt unless it has to. Or I should say, to put it differently, it will adapt to whatever you're doing. And so if you do nothing, your body will be just as strong as you need to be to do nothing. It will never make you much stronger. It's not going to happen. Okay. So your body does adapt, but it always errs on the side of efficiency. How can I become more efficient? So when we look at exercise from an adaptation perspective and we consider the context of the average person, let's illustrate that for a second. The average person is busy yet sedentary. So this is very true. So we are sedentary, but we also busy. People's schedules are packed. I mean, I'm a parent. Like, you got to schedule play dates for kids, which is very strange. I mean, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Like, I never scheduled play dates. I just went outside and played, which is kind of weird, right? Everything's scheduled. So we got crazy busy schedules, but we're sedentary. So that's number one. Number two, food is hyper palatable, meaning the markets are really good at giving us what we want. That could be good or bad. If all we want is, alcohol and distractions, and that's what we're going to get, right? So, and the markets will make it really, really good, right? So what do we want with food? We want it to taste really good. Like, it's really fun to eat. I want it to be palatable. So the vast majority of research and development that goes into food goes into palatability. So we're just surrounded by hyper palatable food. It's also very inexpensive. Markets have been made food very inexpensive to the point where, again, too much food is the problem, not too little. It's also easily accessible. In fact, it's so easily accessible today. I can't believe that I could get on my phone right now, and within 30 minutes, I could have Chinese food, Mexican food, Italian food. I could have fast food, sushi, and it'll come to my door here at work. Okay, so it's become so accessible. So it's extremely accessible, hyper palatable, sedentary, yet busy. And then the average person is not a fitness fanatic, and the most we could hope for when it comes to structured exercise is about 2 or 3 days a week. We're not gonna get more out of people forever, at least. Some people more, some people less, but on average, about 2 or 3 days a week of structured exercise. Okay, so when we consider that and we look at obesity, what we want to do is pick the form of exercise that's going to just do the best for us. Because I'm not going to spend a ton of time exercising, and we got this calorie problem, and I'm sedentary, so I need something that's protective when I'm not doing it. the best form of exercise in that category is strength training. It really is. Now, I'm not saying it's the only form of exercise. All forms of exercise have value if applied appropriately. But in the context of what I'm saying, strength training is the most valuable in that sense. It's the most protective. Muscle's very protective. You got a lot of muscle and you sit around all day long, you burn more calories than if you don't. It also promotes a youthful hormone profile. In order to build muscle, or at the very least, when I send the signal to build muscle, my body will organize its hormones in a way to do so. So what does that look like? More testosterone. It looks like balanced estrogen and progesterone in women. It looks like cortisol that's healthy, meaning it goes up in the morning, comes down towards the evening. Growth hormone levels that are more youthful, because those are all conducive towards building muscle. On the flip side, if I do lots of forms of exercise that make me pare muscle down, it'll do the opposite. It'll organize itself in a way to where I'll have lower testosterone, more cortisol, and all that stuff. So hormones, it's going to protect me there. Also, insulin sensitivity. The most effective, a lot of people don't know this. You hear a lot of talk about insulin sensitivity, right? The most effective way to improve insulin sensitivity is to build a little bit of muscle. There's studies on people who are obese, severely obese, and all they do is have them gain a little bit of muscle, and you get this improvement in insulin sensitivity. Why? Besides your liver, the second best place, or I should say most abundant place we store carbohydrates, are your muscle. More muscle, more storage, very insulin sensitive. Insulin is a very anabolic hormone. It's more anabolic than even testosterone, in fact. So we become very insulin sensitive. There's another organ in the body, by the way, that requires lots of insulin sensitivity, the brain. In fact, researchers will call Alzheimer's and dementia, some researchers will refer to them as type 3 diabetes. And if you take people with Alzheimer's or dementia, put them on a ketogenic diet where they avoid all carbohydrates, so their body doesn't run off of carbohydrates, but rather runs off of ketones, you see an improvement in cognition. Now, that's not because ketogenic diet has anything necessarily magical about it, but in that particular context, their bodies become so insensitive to insulin and carbohydrates that their brain can't operate well. So they take that out, have the body run off of fats, boom, they feel much better. But there's your evidence right there. In fact, there was a study out of Sydney, Australia, where for the first time ever, a non-medical intervention was shown to halt the progression of beta amyloid plaques. That's what causes Alzheimer's, or one of the causes. And in fact, towards the end of the study, it looked like there was a trend going in the opposite direction, and it was strength training. It was strength. It's only to date, it's the only non-medical intervention to really show that type of an effect. Also, here's my favorite part: speeds up your metabolism. If I could, and here's the funny thing, right? Because our environment has changed radically. Our bodies have not. We still have the same prehistoric, I shouldn't say prehistoric, that's too long ago, but we still have the same ancient genes that people had, 100,000 years ago. The difference is we live in radically different environments. 100,000 years ago, a thrifty, efficient metabolism was an incredible asset. Like, if you're the guy walking around whose body burns 5,000 calories a day, you're dead, because you ain't going to find 5,000 calories in nature. Good luck. It's very hard to do. You'd have to be the most successful hunter of all time. Just not going to happen. Today, a thrifty, efficient metabolism makes it really hard, because you just don't burn many calories. What you want is a fast, and for lack of a better term, inefficient metabolism. Now, here's why I use the word inefficient. Muscle is active and it burns more calories. That's true. A pound of muscle burns more calories than a pound of fat will. It's a very calorie thirsty, if you will, or hungry tissue. However, there's more to it, because you'll have some people that will say, oh, but a pound of muscle only burns another 20 calories. It's not that big of a deal, which, by the way, it is a big deal. If you gain 5 pounds, that's 100 calories. Doesn't sound like much. Do it over the course of a year, and that turns into 10, 15 pounds, every 2 years or so. But forget that for a second. Your body also has a range of calories that it will burn with the same lean body mass. On one end is efficient, on the other end is less efficient. What tells your body to become more or less efficient? A few different things, but two big ones are, am I feeding myself enough? Because if I start to underfeed myself, my body wants to go more efficient. And am I sending a signal to my body that is saying, prioritize things that require inefficiency with metabolism? The best thing that does that is muscle. Right? When I work out with strength training, I tell my body, I need to be stronger. The stress of this particular form of exercise is what it requires to adapt is more strength. The side effect of which is, let's not worry about how many calories you burn, everybody, we just need more strength right now. So what you see, because I've taken clients all the time and do this. I'll feed them a little bit more, have them lift weights. They'll gain a couple, maybe 3-4 pounds of lean body mass. This will be a woman that will do this. And through a process of reverse dieting, in other words, I slowly increase calories and have them build a little muscle. 4-pound muscle gain plus that process, she's burning 800 more calories a day. 800 more calories a day. That's like 2.5 hours of running, but just on her own, right? So what I like to communicate to people is if you don't necessarily have a huge preference for a form of exercise. Now, if you really love running, that's fine, go for it, do it. But if you're like, okay, I want to do the one that's going to give me the most bang for my buck, and I want to have the one that's going to improve my health the most, and I know I'm only going to work out 2 or 3 days a week because I'm doing 0 now, start with strength training. And then here's the other part of that. I love to tell people this. Years ago, I live in Northern California, and like the hills behind you, we have these beautiful rolling hills up here in the, Bay Area, San Jose area. And I was up there going on a hike, and there were runners every once in a while would pass me by. And I'm a trainer, so I can't help but notice biomechanics. So if someone's running by, I'll say, oh, man, that guy's feet are pronating really bad, or, ooh, that's a really bad anterior pelvic tilt. It's just, I can't help it, right? And then, so I was noticing all these people running by, and I was going, oh man, they're going to hurt. Oh, that person's not going to be able to do this for very long. And then this lady ran by me, and she looked like a gazelle. I mean, she was just beautifully running. And then I thought to myself, like, this is so crazy. Of all the things that humans evolved to do physically very well in comparison to other animals, running is up there. I mean, we do 2 things very well physically. We throw with accuracy. We can do that better than any other animal. I mean, even a child can throw with better accuracy than any animal. And we can run or trek for distance. We can out-trek almost any animal. In fact, if you study modern hunter-gatherers, that's how they hunt. They'll throw something at an animal, wound it, for example, and then they'll just chase it until it gets tired, and then they'll tackle it. So I say, 10 miles or 15 miles or 20 miles, right? And I'm like, why are people so bad? Why are we so bad at running when we evolved to run? And I said, oh, it's because we stopped running when we're 10. We just stopped doing it. And I'm like, well, why are these people running so bad? And I said, oh, I know why. Nobody says to themselves, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to lace up my running shoes and then go practice running. Nobody says that. I'm going to go run till I'm tired because it's a workout. They forget that it's a skill, right? So here's what I tell people when it comes to strength training. Don't go to the gym and do squats because you're going to try and hammer your legs, or do overhead presses because you want to hammer your shoulders, or do curls because you want to feel your biceps burn. Look at those exercises like skills. Go to the gym and practice. That's it. Go to the gym 3 days a week, practice 4 or 5 exercises, and treat them as such. Perfect the skill of strength training. Squat to do good squats. Press to do good presses. Row to do good rows. And let the intensity match the practice. And that's it. Take it from there. And I promise, here's what's going to happen. People will progress nice and consistently. Injury rates will drop off the map. And they're going to perfect the skill over time and really derive tremendous value from strength training. And this is how I always communicate it. I don't tell people, go beat yourself up, go hammer yourself, go do whatever. I say, go practice, go to the gym, go pick 4 exercise, just go practice them and then come home. And the next time you go and try and get a little better at it. See if you can go a little deeper in your squat with perfect form. See if you can feel more stable with your press. See if you can feel this a little bit more in those target areas. Slow your reps down, get better at it. And then naturally you'll get stronger. Naturally you want to add weight to the bar, but don't worry about beating yourself up. Just go get good at the skill of exercise. And boy, I tell you what, that piece of advice right there has gotten people, my clients, some of the best results of their life. And I see you nodding because I know you figured that out too.
That's amazing, dude. I mean, that truly surmises your resistance training revolution and why you wrote this book, right? And so it is a completely new, old way that we should look at all of this stuff. But you've taken this wisdom and applied it to our modern day situation where we're not, throwing around rocks or trekking for Miles. We have to take this wisdom and apply it where
Yes.
it's appropriate. And I love that, man. Well, dude, I feel like I could talk to you, and there's like 1,200 side comments and side topics. I'd love to run down the rabbit hole, but we will do this again without a doubt. I'm so grateful to be able to have this time with you, and we're definitely gonna have to pick up some dumbbells together and do some training. I'd love
Oh
to do
yeah.
that.
If you're ever up in the San Jose, San Francisco area, I'd love to invite you to the studio, and maybe we'll do another episode and hang out a little bit. And I'll do the same when I come down your area for sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. So the bottom line is, everyone, check out his book, and also just realize that this iron, lift heavy things, because it's a panacea for a lot.
It is. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks, brother. Great to see you, and we'll stay connected for sure.